Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's December 3rd, and I'm going to welcome everybody to Recovery Live, our weekly Friday broadcast where we talk about everything recovery. My name is Tom Williams. I'm a recovered alcoholic and addict, broadcasting to you today from my office/studio here in New Jersey. Sean is off on a retreat for work this weekend, so Sean will not be joining us as co-host. So Alicea from California is joining me as co-host today. Hi, Alicea. How are you?
Good, thank you.
She's good. And I have two guests, special guests on today with us, Jemima and Hugh, and they are in Oxford, England. How are you guys today?
Yeah, I'm really good. Really good.
So what time is it there for our viewers?
It's 5 o'clock in the evening.
5:02. So here's a funny thing that we learn, Alicea, when you go to the UK, right? They tell time funny in the UK. So what time is let's say 30 minutes after the hour? What do you say?
5:30.
They say 5:30 or 12:30 or half.
They don't say 12:30.
They don't.
But we know what they mean, right?
You know what they mean, but it's one of those funny things. There's like
But
half
they
five.
think we're funny.
Well,
No comment.
whose side are you on, Alicea? We'll just give Alicea a break. She is in California, so we know what that's right. Oh, sorry.
It's 9:03 here, a.m.
9:03, and we are on live now. Let's see who's following us, guys. Already, we always get a good following right off the bat. People know about us. Doc Roth from Las Vegas is on. Hey, Doc. Tim Seitz, he's up in Wisconsin. D Cuniff, D is watching, guys. From Manchester, Pat Head. Thanks, Pat. How are you? Lauren Linney, she's on. She was on last week with Alicea. She came on to give us a testimonial. So I want to welcome everybody today. The topic today, guys, just so you know, once we get done with our announcements, will be self-care. We want to talk about self-care today. Alicea and I will be going into some aspects of that in recovery. It's so important that we learn to practice self-care. But before we get going, I brought Hugh and Jemima on today because I met them just, I don't know, it's not even 3 weeks ago now, right?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago at a retreat in North Pennines, and which is in England, the northeastern part of England near Newcastle, I guess. And I remember on Friday night, I walked into one of the back rooms where everybody was kind of congregating before the retreat started, and both these guys were sitting around, and I sat down and I was talking to them, and I always do this whole, what brought you here and what do you think and this and that. And I think the both of you weren't exactly sure what to expect, right? So we'll start with Jemima. What did you think that Friday night when you got in? I mean, what was your feeling?
Well, I wasn't, I came in with a completely blank slate. I didn't know what to expect, apart from that it was a really exciting recovery retreat, and that I knew I'd be doing the 12 steps in 2 days. But as soon as I walked in, it was just really nice to sort of feel settled already. Like, I immediately felt settled and calm and peaceful, and everyone was so friendly and kind. So yeah, so I just all I knew what to expect was what I'd learned online, really.
Cool. And what about you, Hugh, while you were sitting there? What were you thinking that Friday night?
I think I was very excited, but I had no idea what was going to happen. I think it was all, I'd been explained vaguely what sort of process we were going to go through while I was there, but I didn't realize sort of how quickly. I remember speaking to you on that night and looking forward to it, very excited to engage with it.
Had you guys had much experience? I know that you guys are relatively new to sobriety. Had much experience with the 12 steps any other way before you had come to the retreat? Jemima first.
So I'd experienced them the CA way. So I'd got to, so up till the retreat, I was on step 3 and 4, I believe. And I think I was still sitting on step 4 and finding it really quite difficult to just sort of sit on these steps when I wanted to move on and, you know, put some action around the program.
Cool. And you, Hugh, what had your experience been?
My experience with the steps is I'd been through the steps, but I hadn't fully understood the steps. I felt like I was doing them very much a person's way instead of the way they were meant to be done.
Uh-huh. So it's really interesting then. You guys really did grab a hold of the process. And I know you did too, Alicea. You had come to the retreat not exactly knowing what it was going to be. And you had been through the 12-step process kind of a different way, right? Before you showed up at retreat.
Yeah, way different. It took about 14, 15 months to get through the way we did it in Celebrate Recovery in Las Vegas.
So here we go. You guys, Jemima, having been already in a long process, Hugh feeling like you were doing it somebody's way. And then we introduced you to this way of the founders, which I hope made sense. It seemed to make sense because you guys really got latched onto it. And, you know, half of all the reason why you're on today is how well it took. How, as you were going through the steps through the weekend, and then we got to Sunday, when you woke up Sunday morning, when we were finished or getting ready to do 10, 11, and 12, how were you feeling? I mean, now that you'd been through it. Jemima, you might as well go first.
Honestly, I can't, it's really hard to describe the feeling because, well, I can describe it. It was just this amazing sense that I was in exactly the right place. I was doing exactly the right process for me. You know, there was the way that it was done just clicked with me so easily. And I woke up on the Sunday and I was so excited to do 10, 11, and 12. But also really sad. I was sad to go because I didn't want, you know, I just was having like such a wonderful time and I'd had these wonderful experiences.
Thanks. And Hugh and I did a 5th step together. I did the 5th step with Hugh. So I remember that. And that was a release time, I think, for him because it was, you know, kind of set straight some things that had been maybe struggling with or was confused about. How were you feeling that Sunday?
I think relieved. I think that's my main thing, relieved. And I felt refreshed, like I now sort of had a purpose after doing these steps, you know. I was very much looking forward to doing step 10, 11, 12 to be able to help other people and to pass this stuff on as quickly as I learned it.
So the magic question for the both of you is, do you identify as recovered today?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. And working your 10, 11, and 12, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So this process, guys, for you in the audience, it's just something that works all around the country. It worked with Alicea. It's working with Hugh and Jemima. They're very new into this and they're just so excited to come on and share it with us. And they're also just behind the scenes, guys. They're looking for venues in Oxford for us to start another Came to Believe retreat. And we expect to probably, unless something else happens, a COVID lockdown or something, it'll be probably this summer over in Oxford. So this is what happens when we get freed with the real message. I just get so excited when people walk away and they really get the truth and get freed from that. Did you feel that same way too, Alicea, when you left the retreat? Like it was things got easier?
Yeah, it clarified a lot of things because doing the steps in 14 months or whatever it was, which I thought was amazing. But then this just kind of was another level of that I didn't even know existed. And it just clicked and made sense with the 10, 11, 12. And we didn't say recovered ED. It was kind of like, okay, I have victory over this and this and this, but I'm still working on whatever. And it just felt like it was never going to end until I kind of made that mark. But then the way you explained it and just being with the other people and seeing so many people just transforming, it clicked that, okay, I am recovered. And then you just do 10, 11, 12. and you do a
Mhm.
daily inventory, or you're like, oh, I'm feeling a little jealous or what, and then you just go. Which I guess I heard before, but it just didn't click. But now I got it.
So the click is really interesting because we hear that a lot. So it's no wonder to me, because this program that the founders created and found and penned in 1939, was so successful back then, because when they presented it this way, it clicked with people. It clicked with people back in 1939, and they were recovered. And so it tells me we're doing something right, because we must be, translating the message correctly. And Pat Head is on. She says, hi guys. You remember Pat from the retreat? Hugh and Jemima, Pat,
Yeah.
she's on watch and she says, hi. He says, so it's really great, guys. I really, really appreciate you guys coming on. It's so important for you guys, for people out in our audience thinking about whether they could do this or not, and whether it can be done in a weekend. And clearly from you guys' testimonies, it can certainly be done in a weekend, and your life can be turned around and set on a course that you never even thought you could be on, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just, I think the best way I've described it is it just it's changed my perspective on life, really. Made everything a lot easier. You can sort of breathe now.
We call it a life-changing experience. It's what happens to everybody. We'd love to have you guys back on sometime. If you're willing to come on, we want to check in with you every once in a while and see how things are going. We'll certainly want to get a report. We're going to see you at the virtual retreat. We want to talk about that in a minute, about the virtual retreat coming up. You guys are going to come to that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody's coming to the virtual retreat. So let's take a minute before you guys go and talk about the virtual retreat with our audience. On January 7th through the 9th, we're going to run a retreat virtually on Zoom, the exact same way we run the retreats in person, as far as the way we teach the steps over the weekend. You can come in right from your living room at home, log in, and hear us, one of the leaders that Came to Believe, teach you the steps. You're going to go into a breakout room and have opportunities to ask questions and clear up any misconceptions. We're going to give you an evening to think about what you've learned on Friday. And then Saturday, we come back and do the 4 through 9 steps. And then we teach you to do Living in the Go on Sunday. It's going to be January 7th through the 9th. You can go on our website and register now. It really works, guys. During the pandemic, we've pivoted to virtual, and we ran virtuals for a year, and people were getting recovered. So much so, the 2 people that we have in our leadership now who have never been to an on-ground retreat, only have been to virtual, are getting ready to start an on-ground one in Ireland. It worked so well for them. A year later, they're living in the go. Their lives have changed. So anyone out there thinking it can't work, it's the doldrums of winter in January, guys, right after New Year's. What a good time. We thought we'd throw one in. It's open to everyone that can get on Zoom, whether you're in the UK or Europe or wherever you are around the world. We'd love to see you. So check out our website if you want and join us. If you're in the UK, there's an on-ground one in Kent, and I think Hugh and Jemima are going to that one too. So with all that, guys, thanks for coming on. Jemima and Hugh, is great to see you guys. We'll be in touch because we have a meeting next week about this wonderful Oxford meeting coming up, Oxford retreat coming up next year. So have a great evening and a great weekend. And again, thanks for coming on, guys.
Nice
Thank you.
meeting you.
Cheers. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah,
Bye.
guys. It's really something, isn't it, Alicia?
Yeah,
The young kids.
I know. And just 3 weeks ago, is that when you were
3
there?
weeks ago. 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
The look, I mean, they have bright, shiny faces, and they were not bright, shiny faces when they showed up that weekend.
Mhm.
You know, they were not, off the street desperate, but they were certainly seeking something. And the transformation was just wonderful with young people. And they're coming to all the fifth step developments this weekend. So, and the leadership, and they just want to jump all on board because the message they got, they want to share.
And they're gonna start an in-person meetings there? Is that what you said?
They're starting a meeting and a retreat they want to run.
Okay,
Now the team will go and help them start it, the first one, like we're coming out to California to help, and we did in Nevada City.
mhm,
And that's what Came to Believe is trying to do in the big picture here is we want to raise enough money that we can send startup teams so that people like Hugh and Jemima with very little Came to Believe experience and not a bunch of sober time can still help facilitate a retreat, because we can send a startup team in and help them grow and help them develop a volunteer team and still start something and help others.
mhm.
So it's a big deal that we get somebody, when we get a couple people like that, we're all on board. Dee's on board. So people over in England are ready to really support them. I don't know. I would love to say that I'm going to be there for that whenever it is, but back
But
and
you're
forth
only
across the
one
pond.
person.
I'm only
right?
one person, right? I have to go to the Ireland retreat for sure.
Right.
Because that's new and less team there than they are in
Right. And then you have all the ones in the States, right? You got Florida and then California and two maybe in California, San Francisco and Nevada City. You're busy.
there'll be two in California, one in April and one in May for sure.
Yeah.
San Francisco that we're working on dates is probably going to be early or mid-April. And then the Nevada City one, which is near you, Alicia, that's in May,
Right.
towards the end of May. So I'll certainly be out for that one. So if you guys are in California, check our website. It's, we're really coming strong in California. And then I'm sure Dale Marshall probably, we want to expand to Southern California. And we have a few people who are looking in the LA area.
Uh-huh.
And we just need to find a place, and we'll probably start one in Southern California as well. So much happening in the new year to bring this message that they received so fresh in recovery and launch them. And they are 2 of 31 people, Alicia, that were there for the first time that walked away with the same faces. They're just 2 that I could grab to come on today. They're so this is a big deal. It was not like they're the only 2, right? And the same thing in California, we saw some massive transformations at that retreat. 2 people came in using the night they showed up on Friday.
Right. I remember one of them.
we all remember one of them.
Yeah, but then, I mean, I felt when he shared and he was crying, and it was just like, it's amazing what happens, it just is. And I was going to say before when everybody was on, but I guess they're still on. Even if you have gone before, you can still get something if you go again, right? And you can help others. And I still grew also, even though I've had a lot of sober time. That doesn't really mean that you're done growing or transforming. So that could be said too, but I think most people know that they want to keep going. Don't you think?
Yeah, it's our 12 step.
Yeah.
And coming to help the other newcomers, and then learning more about how to do this as you're finding out that, learning how the founders did it and be able to articulate it to the next person isn't an overnight thing.
Yeah.
It's not, and to be able to do it, smoothly and effectively. And so that's another thing we're doing to everyone listening, is we're trying to facilitate anybody that wants to learn how to teach these steps the way the founders did it. We're offering any kind of assistance we can to get everybody up to speed so they feel comfortable and confident when they go out and somebody tells them you can't be recovered. And, that's really hard to open to page 1 of the big book where it says we are recovered. And that whole idea of explaining the difference between recovered and recovering, and how it makes sense when you learn what they meant by it, not cured, but recovered. It's a state of mind. It's a state of being that we can certainly be in life. Dale Barker's with us. He's from Florida. Let's go through and see who we have that's joined us. Let's see who else. Christina Passini. I don't know where she's from. You guys remember for last, if you can put up where you're from. Autumn McCullough's with us, so we can say, shout out who is with us and where you're from. Anna Branson's with us. If you guys have any questions today, as usual, you can put them in the chat and Lisa will put them up for Alicia and I. We're going to talk about self-care today. Such an important subject in recovery when we get out of recovery. And also it could be a trip up point too, which I think we're going to talk about too, where we could go overboard, because we go overboard in whatever we're doing.
Addicted to self-care.
Yeah. So just to start, like self-care, just for me, I don't know that I even knew what that was when I got sober. Like, I guess the concept of, taking care of yourself or something, it seemed selfish to me. It seemed like maybe I didn't deserve it. It was lazy. It was, who knows?
Did you think it was kind of girly? Because I have the impression that men hear that word and think, no, you don't. You look like you don't feel
it's
that
a
way.
little therapy-ish. Yeah, it's
Right.
I'm going to do self-care. We're going to sit in the meadow and,
Right. Or take a bubble bath, or
take a bubble bath,
which I'm not interested in at all.
which Alicia says she would not want to do a bubble bath.
No.
And me either. Maybe so, especially for my generation. Maybe it was a connotation that would be easier to go to the way I grew up. Self-care is for the girls, which is
right.
An unenlightened view, which we know today means nothing about that. But and then I certainly went overboard on a few things initially.
Like what?
So exercise is one that I did. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But when you got sober, now you've been sober for a long time, right, Alicia?
Well, alcohol 27 years, but then I switched right to food and food restriction and exercise. So really, I've only been 3 years, October, from eating disorders.
So let's talk about your self-care and how you looked at it from 3 years ago, not from the beginning, because obviously probably it was dysfunctional self-care.
Yeah. It's still a little bumpy.
So how did you view it from that point? Like you got yourself set 3 years ago, and did you get to a point where it said, I have got to practice self-care?
It actually didn't really happen then, probably just in the last year. And I listened to a lot of podcasts and YouTubes and stuff. And then it's just been the normal term of the decade, maybe, of self-care. So hearing that and realizing the importance of it is when I started. But then again, my excuses would come in, like, oh, I don't have time, or I don't want to do a bubble bath. And then I started thinking and like, well, what would self-care be for me? And it would be getting my gym time in, but not like 4 hours a day more. So it took a lot of time to kind of find it and not be selfish or feel selfish. And then what I've heard that I really like is that when people practice self-care, whatever that is for them, they're actually more present and fulfilled and loving towards other people. And I don't think that we go to that point right away, but I think that's important, because then you can be a better mom, you could be a better spouse, you could be a better person in community when you're actually taking care of yourself on whatever that is. It might be taking a walk, or whatever that your self-care practice is.
So do you feel like and I know I did not do this, consciously say, I'm going to practice self-care? Did you do that?
No. But I guess looking back, like hindsight is 2020. Now I see like, okay, I am. So maybe that's why I feel a little more at peace and more content, because I didn't go out like Yeah, I don't even know how to explain it. But yeah, I didn't go to, I'm gonna do this self-care thing. It was kind of like, okay, I have certain things that I feel that I need. And I can also, we can pivot. Like, I think I like walking. So let me try that. But how long? And then maybe I don't like walking, but I do. I did find out that I like, because I used to be the person who would say, I don't go outside. I go to the gym. I don't go
Mm.
outside. I don't bike outside. I don't
Mhm.
hike. And people started calling me out on it of like, why are you so against it? And I didn't really have a good reason. So I started going outside and I actually like it. And then you get vitamin D, right? And sunshine, which is part of that self-care.
So I think, well, I'm the same way. I just started doing things, filling up my time. I kind of was taking the Steve Foreman advice when he talks about step 11, that you have 6 hours in your day and it's time to be productive and it's time to do some things. I was doing that. And a gym thing was just something I loved. I didn't realize till later that how much that fed kind of an addiction element if I'm not careful with it. They say the health, it's better to be addicted to the healthy thing. Well, not so much maybe, right?
Not so much, no.
But I think it would be if I think I wish I had really looked at it closer and said, I'm going to practice self-care and I'm going to kind of look more intentional at it than do it so haphazardly. I think I would have been better off, maybe saved myself some heartache, stress, and learning lessons had I done that. The 12 steps, I think, certainly living in the go, 10, 11, and 12 is a method of self-care. Would you agree?
Totally. Yeah. And being in community and volunteering or whatever it is. Oh, yeah, for sure. And then because that I feel fulfilled, and even the practicing, like stepping in my fear, because I'm an introvert and I'm not like a natural public speaker, but I feel like I could and I would want to. So I put myself in those positions, and then it helps my confidence, like, wow, I actually did that thing. And that doesn't have to be public speaking. It could be anything. It could be giving somebody a compliment, which I have a hard time doing in public, or don't take my phone in with me to Starbucks, because then I actually need to look at people. So I like intentionally do those little things, and then I become fulfilled. But I don't know if anybody would really call that self-care, but I would, because it's helping me grow and connect with people, which makes me feel fulfilled and good.
Yeah. So stepping out of yourself to think about others is a self-care, I would think, because it makes you healthier emotionally and probably spiritually. Let's talk about, psychologically, or in the world of therapists or whoever, there is some categories of self-care. They've looked at this, when you and I, Alicea, have been kind of mulling this whole topic over all week about what we were going to talk about. And then Danielle Fox, who was a guest of ours about a month ago on here, we were talking about relationships. She's a licensed therapist. I asked her what her top categories would be if she was going to talk self-care. And so she sent me that list that I sent to you. It was like 12 things.
Many. Yeah.
I'm like, we can't do these. But we decided to take 3 to start with, guys. And we'd love to hear some comments and questions. And I'm telling you, I'm amazed. Alicea, you can go back and look later. The comments we're getting, they're so really helpful in the Facebook feed that I hope everybody's reading them. I can't read them all. If Lisa's putting a couple of them up and then they went away, I'll read them, about how important self-care is, and some great advice and some great points being shared by everybody in our chat. So it's so encouraging to see people grasping onto this subject. If you have a particular question, put this in so that we can air it, and maybe we can talk it out and have everybody hear what our 2 cents is about. So the 3 categories that we thought we'd talk about today were physical self-care, mental health or emotional self-care, and then spiritual. self-care, three big topics, you know, that we could talk about as we become sober, as we become living in the go, as we become fitting ourselves for the best use of God and the people around us. Self-care matters. Doing these things to make us fit to be of maximum service. So physical self-care, I'm going to read you like 8 things that are off of this. It's a University of Chicago or a University of Illinois website. And it says physical self-care: eat healthy, engage in exercise, go for a walk, drink water, practice good sleep hygiene, have a cup of tea, sit in the sunlight, take a shower or a bath. Shower in Alicea and our circumstances.
No bath.
No bath.
But again, like someone might love baths. That's great, right? And someone might not want tea, and someone, you
Yeah.
know.
When I draw a bath, just to say, if I was to draw a bath, it would just drive me crazy waiting for the water to go in the tub. Like I can't wait.
It grosses me out.
In your own filth. Yeah. I know. You and I, we're going to get a lot of pushback on that for those
That's
that
okay.
love.
They might love it. That's great.
It's good for you. You got
No.
all the water you want. Right. Dee says she loves baths. Well, yeah, well, whatever.
Yeah, that's great. And if she gets fulfilled by it, that's great.
Right. But that's self-care. So those, if any of you out there wondering what they're talking self-care, what are they talking about? And we know there are people that are like that, right? We've been practicing it, but not everybody gets it. And they'd say, well, what do I do? And what's a good balance of that? So let's talk about that under the physical, in the eating healthy and exercise and the sleep habits. I think those are 3 there. How do you practice self-care when it comes to eating, exercise, and your sleep habits?
Okay. Being a person that struggled with eating disorders and exercise obsessively, it's switched a lot lately. And so I work out. I'm still a group exercise instructor and personal trainer. So I need to be careful of how much exercise and be honest with myself of like, do I really need to exercise again? So, but I lift 6 days a week here at our house with my husband each morning. It's like a routine. We get up and we read. We're reading Randy Alcorn's Heaven book right now. And then we pray, and then we lift 6 days a week.
Nice.
So it's kind of set. And
I love
then I sub at the gym, but not like I was before. So
Wait, Alicea, I gotta stop. We need a t-shirt. Read, pray, lift. That's
Yeah.
gonna be our morning t-shirt.
yeah,
Lisa,
And
that's a new
repeat.
t-shirt.
repeat.
Read, play, lift, repeat.
Yeah.
I love that. Wow,
Yes.
guys. So
Yes.
go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so that's kind of the routine there. And I get outside to walk, which isn't really exercise, but it's movement, right? I mean, for some people, it might be exercise. If they're on the couch 24/7, walking would be exercise. But for me, it's more just being outside, getting vitamin D and a little bit of a movement. And then, do you want me to go into eat healthy? Is that what we're doing?
Health,
do you
yeah,
wanna
go
do
health.
your-
How
Okay.
have you changed your eating habit? Yeah.
I was eating disorders for 33 years. And then I went to keto, which helped me a lot, probably 6 years ago. And now a year and a half, I've been carnivore, which is amazing. So I only eat animal products, no veggies, no fruit, no grain, no sugar, no nothing, about 95% of the time. And it's amazing. And again, that's not for everybody. It's probably not for anybody on here, but it's made me feel at peace. And I've watched many YouTubes and podcasts about it, and I'm totally healthy and I feel great. And so that's kind of a non-negotiable for me, is don't overdo it at the gym, carnivore diet, and then sleep. Yeah, I try to get 8 or 9 hours every night. And I can feel it if I don't. I just feel tired and sluggish. And it does affect our cortisol and our hunger hormones and everything when you don't get enough sleep. And then I'm craving the sugar, and then bam, bam, there goes my crazy thoughts. So I've found that over time of like, yeah, that is a thing. Cause I kept hearing people say, you need enough sleep. And I'm like, I'm fine. Coffee. But again, it clicked like, okay, they're right. I feel more hungry, more cravings, a little edgy when I don't get those three things right. Or not right, like 80-20 rule, right? 80%
Yep.
of the time, aim for, but yeah, that took me years to find, right? So somebody might not even know what to eat. Like when you said healthy eating, people might be like, well, what is that? Somebody might want to be vegan. Somebody might want to be keto or not at all. So that you have to like want it and find it.
We have started just an absolute crazy chat on showers versus baths on the Facebook feed.
Are baths winning? I bet
Our
they
baths,
are.
I'm watching. There are people getting, yes, we don't want to sit in our own filth, to others that
Yes.
set the candles up and they think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Well,
I'm
you
watching.
can shower with candles.
Yeah. So let's stay focused, guys, and not get off on the shower bath. Everybody's commenting on showers and baths. When I sponsor someone today, I intentionally would tell them, when you get sober, there's some things you really need to start doing. It's part of living in the go. It's a part of what Steve Foreman would say about changing the habits. And it falls under self-care. And because I'm an exerciser and I believe, not just believe, I know how much it can affect your brain and your thinking and how you feel and how you look. That
Yeah.
some sort of movement and exercise habit is a wonderful thing to start doing. It gets you out of the bed in the morning. You and I were kidding the other night. We love to go to bed because it means we get to wake up to work out.
Right. But not everybody's like that.
No, that is a little bizarre. I'm like, can I go to bed yet? Because I want to get up so I can go to the gym, in the morning. And then I have people saying, eating healthy, it's the same thing. Number one, it's a cost thing. Where you're eating out, we're going to change our spending habits. We're going to do self-care because financially, that's another way. We could have gotten ourselves in ruin. We're going to teach you how to encourage that, right? Because that's a big deal. You eat out all the time, costs you 10
All
times.
the seed oils and processed food and sugars. I could go on a tangent right now.
Yeah.
Causes inflammation in your brain and your body. And inflammation in the brain leads straight to anxiety and depression. And that's exactly what our world is suffering from right now. So much of us. And sugar is the bad mood food. It just is. Try it, make an experiment, and you'll see it is.
Yeah.
But many of us, me included, were addicted to it.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's a hard thing.
They've moved on to Epsom salt baths now.
Okay.
They're talking about Epsom salt.
I've
All
never
right.
done that.
So Marlene is now bringing it back online. Marlene's joining us from Ireland. So we have Ireland with us. Laura Linney from last week says that both of us, you and I, Alicia, inspired her to get back in the gym. She feels so much better. First time going to the gym sober. That's just awesome.
Awesome. That's only been a week.
A week.
When I met her.
Yeah. So that's great. So healthy eating, it's a financial thing. It helps you feel better and it gets you balanced. And then sleep. Humans, we're day animals. You know that? Really? Our eyes are day. We're meant to sleep when the sun's down and be awake when the sun is up. It really isn't, scientifically, they said, natural for human beings to be awake at night. We are all, there's lots of papers written on this. Artificial light screws up circadian rhythms and in all of us.
Right.
And so I try to say, try to go to bed by 9 or 10, because my nieces and nephews would tell you, what's Uncle Tom's rule about nothing good happens after 10 p.m.
Yes.
I still hear that from when he said, and then later I go, so tell me what does anything really good? And staying up till 2 a.m. is not generally a healthy thing. It's not self-care. It leads to a lot of things.
Right.
So one of the things that I am very adamant about, I go to bed around 10 asleep and I'm up at 5:30 or 6 a.m. every day. kind of with the sun, either way, not so much at night, but in the morning for sure. And when I go to bed and wake up within an hour of the ether time every night, consistency, I feel really, really good, energized and healthy. Do you find that?
Of having energy in the morning after
Yeah,
an
being
hour?
consistent, your sleep, having your sleep
Oh,
be a consistent.
I've heard a lot about consistency even on the weekends, but I don't follow that because we go to bed about 8:30 or 9,
Whoa.
and then I get up at 5:17.
Yeah.
And on the weekends, I don't want to get up that early unless I have a Zoom meeting with you because you're on the East Coast. So yeah, but I know they say that you should like get up and go to bed the same every single day. I haven't done that, but I still feel amazing and great. So yeah, and I am a coffee drinker, so that helps. But
That's good.
yeah, sleep is important.
Good.
And they say to have blackout curtains if you can, not have all the lights in there, and to have the temperature down, not crazy cold, but that helps too. Which we have the dark room, but we don't keep it really cold. Do you do any of that stuff?
Well, my curtains are blackout.
But do you
But-
keep it cold?
I do on the cold side. Yeah. 60
Okay,
on the cold side. So I mean, we have that just means keeping the heat down because it's hot, right? I
yeah.
keep it on the cool side. I think it's good for you. Dale Barker is sharing
He's in
about
the bath.
no, he's moved on from the bath, about something that I was going to get to that helps us as recovered right from the beginning, which will lead back to your morning routine with your husband and your praying and your reading and what I do in the morning and doing our step 11 and step 10 at night, which sets self-care up for us.
Mhm.
Because now that we're looking at our life differently and we're analyzing our daily spiritual condition and we're working on that and we're seeking God, he will give us the answers to these things about shower or bath or too much exercise or eat right. It's amazing how the right answer comes. It's what our big book says. So guys, if you're living in the go, this is one of those ways to help you to figure out what works for you. As long as you're doing something. Steve Foreman would always say, do something, have something going on. So physical, the one thing I want to mention about exercise, Alicia, that I found was, I knew it was a problem when I was altering other things in my life that were important to make sure the exercise was getting in. When
Like
I
sleep.
was not making appointments,
Mm.
leaving work early, coming in late, things like that. Important things that you should do that was out of balance. And I did use my 9th step promises, where what I use as my barometer at night, and 10th step to analyze that I was feeling off and funny, and I was able to target. That's what it is. I've become obsessed too much with this exercise, and it was all pride and ego, or not so much for the look, but for the feeling. I love the exercise feeling and the fitness level.
Well, how much were you exercising? Or what does that mean? Like, really, literally? Like you were there for like 2 hours, 3 hours?
Well, it meant I would be in the gym for a solid hour weightlifting plus a 5-mile run
Oh, boy.
and then a spinning class
Oh,
in a day.
okay. Yeah, I was there. I was teaching all those things to
Yeah.
others.
So it was too much. So those are some signs, guys, but we'll talk here in a minute because I think we'll hit spiritual self-care at the end, which is going to tie us up right here to show us, especially where we go today, to start our lives and help us because we need it. So mental self-care is mindfulness, taking a break, listening to music, reading a book, podcast, reflecting on things. So for me, mental self-care, what I call like downtime for me, I've learned I need. And downtime for me, mental self-care, believe it or not, can be sitting in front of the TV watching 2 stupid half-hour comedy shows. They don't draw anything from me. I'm completely entertained by them. And it's really important for me to feel balanced, to have a little time where I don't feel like just everything is drawing from me all day long.
What about if you had a sponsee or you knew somebody that was watching TV every night from 6 to 10 and they said, that's my self-care? Would you agree?
I don't know that I would call that self-care.
I don't.
I would
think
just
I
say
would.
that's your way spending your free time, and if they were working from 6 to 5 and life was going good and they didn't have any issues and their family life was okay. I don't
Yeah.
know that I would even say that as a red flag, but beyond that hour that I really need, after that, if I'm watching a movie, it's just my free time. I don't know that I call that self-care, because that is a good point, Alicea, was what do we need as self-care? What really keeps us balanced? And then what are just our choices for our enjoyment in our life, which may be beyond what you would be like needing for self-care. That's a good point. I'm going to think about that.
Yeah. 'Cause we don't watch TV. We watch TV on the weekends sometimes, but I mean, that's my thing. It's just it's not feeding me. It's like we could be doing something. We could be talking. We could be in a bath. No.
Oh, don't get the bath thing started again, Alicea. We're never going to get out of it. As you guys notice, as you all know, all my guitars. One thing that I started doing when I got sober was it was a bucket list thing for me, and I wanted to learn how to play guitars. I didn't realize how much it fit into self-care until I started doing it. It is so, I don't do it professionally. I don't do it in front of anybody. I mean, once in a while, Stephanie Barker and I will get together and do worship stuff at one of the retreats, or I'll be with some friends and we'll fool around, but mostly it's just for me. But it's so therapeutic to me and such emotional self-care for me to play. It's a release, it's calming, and it lets me turn off. So for me, guitar playing and a little bit of TV and a walk, these are big things that help me in my emotional self-care. Reading too is good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any things that we can't use exercise, is it? Because that's exercise.
Right. That's
Or
physical.
emotional.
We already did that one.
Even though that does get us
It does help
emotionally.
me emotionally.
Me too.
But I think this fits where my like I talked about before is like I give myself little challenges because I am introverted and I rather just be in the corner, not go outside. So I kind of want to be a person who is more outgoing and approachable. So I give myself little I don't even know. Yeah, just little things to do, like go to Starbucks. I'm going to compliment somebody or pay it forward with the person behind me, even though I'm not seeing them. So that helps me emotionally. It kind of helps my self-confidence a little bit and make me feel more connected with people. Having awareness too of like you pointed out of you felt something wasn't right. If you didn't have awareness, you wouldn't even have known, or you would have been like, I'm fine. Until you're at the gym 4 hours a day and someone else would be like, Tom, do you think you're at the gym too much? So you have to have awareness of, either journaling or if you're just thinking about it, like, I feel a little off. What is it? So that's really important.
Because Sarah says the gym membership is much cheaper than therapy.
Right. And you don't have to go to the gym. You could do stuff at home with a band and your body weight. You can do tri-dips and push-ups and squats with nothing.
There's a whole bunch of people who want you to train them. That's the next topic going on here.
Okay. You can come to my house. I have a gym.
I have
right
people
here.
wanting me to pass your information on to them because they want you to train them.
Awesome.
So people are, I'm like, well, this is really going to turn into be economically beneficial to you, Alicea.
I'll donate all the proceeds to Came to Believe.
Oh, well, there we go. Let's get them all in there. Pull-ups though, right? Pull-ups.
Right. Which I cannot do one, but I'm going to get there.
Yeah, that's right. No guess so.
Right.
There was another really good comment in here. D said some music, driving, uplifting, engaging in life with family and friends is self-care to me. In 2 weeks, we're going into New York City to see a play on Broadway, and I'm going to go do that. It's something I do that gets me out of myself. And that's a really good point, Melissa. Melissa said something. I'm going to bring that up in a second. Going to Yankee games, baseball games, and things like that. Really important to have a life outside of what is just your core work, because workaholism can be not self-care too, right? Working too much and not having a balanced life.
Yeah.
So all these little tactics that we want to use, along with some large categories of balance in life, really define self-care, I think.
Yeah. And having awareness, right? Of like really sitting down for a minute and thinking, well, when this week, what really gave me a feeling of being fulfilled? Or I wasn't fulfilled at all. I don't even remember the last time. And then think, well, what would I want to do? Or, you might have to like think about it or ask someone else, what do you do? And you might like, no, I don't want to do that. Or yeah, I think it takes awareness and seeing the importance of it, number one, and then practicing it.
So I want to touch on that as we get into spiritual, which is the importance of it, and then practicing it, and then recognizing the benefit, which is the promises, and seeing how your life has changed. Now listen to this one. D says gardening is therapeutic. Put a needle in my eye, worse than taking a bath.
Right? I won't do it either, but great for them. For her.
Wow, gardening, that would drive me crazy. I do not want to go. I think I have PTSD from my grandmother who made me pull weeds out of her driveway.
I was just going to say, I like pulling weeds because it's like a beginning and there's an end of like completion that I just love. Like math, I liked math because there's a beginning and then there's an answer, and it makes me feel safe and secure.
We're just getting concerned about you now.
So pulling weeds, I love it. But gardening
you'd be good in the military, straight.
Yeah.
The rules to live by, although I'd like that too. Let's talk about we're getting close on time, but we got a few more minutes. Let's talk about spiritual self-care. And this is where I want to wrap it up about, especially for us, and how this has helped me. So spiritual self-care, number one, pray, call, text a friend, connect with nature, meditate, engage in self-reflection. That's a little, the self-reflection and connect with nature. It's a little new agey for me from where I am, but I get it. If it's God's earth that we're going to go out and connect with and be thankful for everything that we have, I totally get that. I feel like my spiritual self-care for me, after I connected with my new manager, the God of the founders that now lives in my heart with a real relationship. If I don't get up in the morning and do my 10 step, do my 10 and 11, if I don't do my morning meditations and my morning readings, and if I don't do it at night and look at the promises and say, how am I feeling? This is where I get my awareness, Alicia, because I make myself look at that and say, I should be feeling this way. I should be having this, because we get these. And it makes me say, I'm not getting that. And then I got to go look, and it makes me look deeper. What am I doing? And then sometimes, because, we're just people and we're not good, but that's my spiritual self-care. And then I pray for God and for inspiration. I pray for the power to carry it out. Like step 10 says, is God, show me what I can do. There might be a scripture or reading I'm led to. There might be a reading in another book or the big book that I'm led to. There might be an intuition right away to say, Tom, you're not being honest with yourself about something. As I practice things like honest, unselfish, pure, and in love, as I go out every day, I'm going to start with the 4 absolutes that can set me straight. So for me, having that quiet time with God, having that quiet time, reflecting on what I should be garnering in this life and what I should be watching out for that can trip me up, and asking for God's direction in it all keeps me bouncing. It rides the all rest of it through. The physical and the mental flow right out of that.
Right. I think what you said for some people though could be like, oh, because that's very disciplined, right? And it takes intention, which some people just don't have yet, or so that could be a barrier in itself. But I think everybody can start really small, of like just thinking real quickly before you go to bed, or put something by the side of your bed to remember a daily inventory, or how am I feeling? And then once you get that under control, then, okay, let me take it a step further because I'm feeling really good. So let me look at the promises and look at I think we need to really see the importance of it again, and that we matter, and that it helps us, and it helps us to stay sober, which is really important. And you're worth it. And being disciplined is an awesome thing to have. And it doesn't have to be perfectly 100%. Oh, I missed tonight, I stink. But consistency is pretty amazing and can help in so many areas of our lives.
So I'm glad that you balanced that back for me, because I am pretty disciplined about it.
And some people aren't.
Yeah, and I do it pretty quickly because I can one over the promises pretty quick and go now. But our 10th step does say to us that we have a daily reprieve based upon our spiritual condition. So I think your point of you've got to do something, even if it's small, to be improving your spiritual condition, that's really important. And start wherever you can, but be intentional about it. And if you're not disciplined, that's where I tell people, just put your 10th step, your 4th step inventory sheet next to your bed.
Exactly.
Just so you can just glance at it at least one night. And I think for us, this way of living is new, being in fellowship with other people that are going through the same thing, going to a Came to Believe meeting, going to a Zoom meeting, staying in connection with others is also spiritual self-care for me, to stay in touch with others that can support me in fellowship and that I can support and hold me accountable.
Well, I was just going to say that, and have a sponsor or accountability partners, both hopefully. And then you can tell them, you know what, I'm struggling with having discipline to look at or do a daily inventory. Can you hold me accountable? Can you ask me? Or I'll text you each morning with a check mark. I did it. And at night, okay, I did it. But you need to ask for that. And I'm sure anybody would say yes. And can you help me with this other thing?
It's really, really important. And I hope you guys got some good tips today. I hope you got, some good inspiration and on the importance of what self-care and how it fits into living in the go. It just fits into our 10, 11, and 12. If we're doing it, you're kind of doing it. You may look back later and say, hey, this is self-care that I'm doing, and I didn't even realize it. And just watching for those pitfalls, watching for it to go over the edge and become obsessive and outside of a balance, which definitely can throw us off. Anybody that comes out of brokenness of whatever it is, because it resembles our brokenness, the unbalance more than the balance. So we just want to be careful with not being balanced. Lisa says our t-shirt winner today is, I wanted to mention one more thing that Alicia said is Sean Rodkey. Sean Rodkey wins the t-shirt. Let's give us a golf clap. Put your address and mailing information in the chat, and Lisa will send a shirt to you. So we have that out of the way. So listen to this, Alicia, and tell me how much you think this is important to. Melissa McManus, who's joining us from South Wales, says, self-care for me can also be saying no. The ability to say no.
Yes, that's like the stepping into fear of wanting to have boundaries and wanting and seeing that it's hurting her or anybody. If you don't have boundaries and you say yes to all the time, you're whatever you're saying yes to, you're saying no to yourself. Right. And so realizing that, that's great awareness. Yeah, I think many of us can practice saying no and being okay with it, because the other person might come back and try to make you feel bad. And no is a complete sentence. Remember that too. You don't have to explain. No. Goodbye. No.
I was going to say that. No. Do blah, 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 blah. No.
No. I'm sorry. No. And you don't even have to say I'm sorry, but no.
Nope.
I wish I could. Maybe next time.
Yep. No.
That would be a no.
That stops it as soon as you're right. Because when I've said no, because then you invite them to try to talk you into it. But
right.
No, nope.
If you give them an excuse, then they're going to give you an answer to that excuse, and then you're stuck. And
no is a complete sentence. I love that. I certainly did it. I mean, that would feed into that defect of codependency, right? Where we just have to say yes to everybody because we're people pleasers and approval seekers. And so say yes to everything. And then we're out of balance. And
no, that's amazing. And that would feed into like, why do I feel icky today? Why am I so uncomfortable? Maybe it's because you're saying yes to too many things.
Right. Great conversation today, Alicea. It's 2 minutes after 1, so we've gone a little over, but that's okay. We still have people on board watching us. God, Dale Barker says sometimes God says no too. It's true. Yeah, it's true. So we got to watch our promptings of the green light, red light. Do it, don't do it. It was great to have you on. I know that you'll be on some of our other Facebook Lives into the future. You've expressed interest in coming on and joining us in these conversations. We'll see you Saturday, I think, at the 5th step development and the leadership development.
Yep.
And have fun out there in California, getting ready to be able to do a pull-up.
I will do one unassisted.
One unassisted. If my friend Jody Thorpe is watching, who she said she would down in Florida, who thinks that SelfCare is having chickens in the back of her house. She owns chickens and feels like they give her some sort of peace and joy. And we have an absolute debate that her chickens give her any kind of joy or anybody any joy. So
you don't think that is true?
I don't think so. Now I have to meet them when I go down there next week. She tells me I have to come and meet her chickens.
Meet her chickens.
Yeah.
She gets fresh eggs to eat, which are healthy.
Yeah. She says they got them for the eggs, but yet she calls them her girly girls. I said, you've got something going on. You need a retreat. We may see Jody at a retreat one of these days. If she's listening, she's certainly laughing right now. Anyway, thanks for everybody for coming on today and following us. We'll be back next week with another great subject on recovery. I'll be coming on I may not be on next week as I'll be down in Orlando, but let's see how the week comes. Alicea, again, thanks for being on. And everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.